So today I'll read the message that Ranebi, our Rabbi Netanel, spoke to us back in 5776. It's quite a few years ago. And I've entitled it, Do We Follow Humanism or the God of Israel? Let me just fix the sound on the recording. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. So this is Rabbi Netanel's message. Do we follow humanism or the God of Israel? Today, I would like to speak about the Tower of Babel, Tower of Babel. The Aramaic word, Babel, has nothing to do with languages. It means gate or door, and also refers to the firstborn son who was called Baba. Since he opened the door for the rest of the children to follow. Bab-el means the door or the gate of God. The rebuilding of civilization at Babel after the flood shows us that God was opening the door for humanity to begin again. This time, it would be on the right track. Genesis 11 or Bereshit 11 describes the building of the towers or zigurat. They were of great height, from which they could see each other from long distances. This was possible because the valley of Shinar was flat. Today, they have found archaeological remains in this area that was ancient Babylon and is today modern-day Iraq, which is believed to be where the Garden of Eden was. It's an area of great conflict and destruction by religious fanatics who think that their God is the only true God. This is now causing horrible problems in Europe due to the mass migration of people from that area who continue to bring a great imbalance to the cultures of Europe. With the story of the Tower of Babel, we can see how man continued in the wrong direction. The flood destroyed everything, but it didn't cure the heart of man. As we examine the description of the construction of the tower, we see that it inflated man's capabilities with the running theme, we can do whatever we need to do without any outside help. In other words, we don't need to depend upon anyone greater than us, since we are the crown, the pinnacle of creation. Our egos have become so huge that our need for a supernatural being is viewed as mere superstition. This is how humanism, the oldest religion in the world, began. Humanism exalts creation above the Creator and is the root of our problems. We are convinced that we don't need a supervisor. We can supervise ourselves. Thus, if we are united, we can confront this super being and let him know that we don't need him. By confusing them through language, our Creator showed them that they were nothing. According to our sages, Hebrew was spoken before this time, but now they could no longer communicate. The United Nations is another picture of the Tower of Babel, pretending to unite the world, all the while dividing it. They accuse Israel of crimes against humanity, yet they remain silent when so many other countries are guilty of gross human violations. Man is still trying to substitute the God of creation with human gods, and we have replaced his values with human values. The great majority of people believe that humanity today is more just and more advanced than those at the time of the giving of the Torah. They say, we have better values today. We're more enlightened, and we accept everyone equally. However, the world's values today are totally contrary to Torah values. When the Torah says not to do something, humanity says to do it, and vice versa. The world's view of unity is that everyone needs to think like everyone else, or to be uniform in thought under one leader. Most of these strong, militaristic, so-called uncivilized countries have one leader who is a dictator, and who remains unchallenged under the penalty of death. The people under a dictatorship live in atrocious conditions, and still the world, for the most part, remains silent. In contrast, we will read how God would call Moshe to be the leader of our people. We never hear Moshe telling God what to do. Rather, he was simply God's mouthpiece, and we needed to be obedient to God, not to Moshe. 10 generations after Noach, Avinu Avraham, our father Abraham, was chosen, so that the world could return to the understanding that there is only one all-powerful creator. Humanism is a very selfish religion in which the individuals set themselves up as the creator of the universe. We see how these strong leaders who place themselves at the center force people to become their slaves, governing them according to their will. The Torah teaches that we are responsible for the welfare of our neighbor and for our community. We no longer have communities, we only have cities. Societies where people live together but have little to do with one another. We have become islands unto ourselves. The Torah teaches us that the reason we were created was for the welfare of the community. Humanism teaches the opposite. The community exists to serve us for our personal betterment. This is the reason that the people were dispersed at Babel and could no longer enjoy unity. Many of us have come from countries where we suffered under the leadership of dictators. We came looking for freedom and we found it here. Now that we are living in freedom, it doesn't mean that we should forget that we are here for the sake of the country that gave us shelter and not for our own sakes. We are living in perilous times. Around the world, we hear about wars and rumors of wars. One nation wants to swallow up another. Most people blame God for what is happening, but it is time for us to wake up. It's not in the name of God that people hurt each other. It is in their own names that they do it. God is simply their excuse. These people don't believe in anything but themselves. That is humanism. It has many particularities. There are atheist humanists who openly deny the existence of a creator. The most deceitful type of humanism is religious humanism, where the religious leader is enthroned as he convinces people to believe that they now have his version of the true God. These are incarnated gods with their own system of religion, which puts them at the center of the universe. One extreme example is North Korea, whose leader is worshipped as God incarnate. The Torah was written in a holistic Oriental mentality, using simple myths and parables to teach. The Western world has been conquered by a different mentality, Aristotelian, rationalistic, which is completely opposite to the Torah. Neither view can understand the other. The value systems cannot be transferred, and the conclusions will never be the same. It is impossible for humans to define our Creator. We can only observe his actions and his creation. Religions have placed him in a box, and this cannot be done. We cannot tell God what he wants to say. This is what we've been doing until today. We need to return to the mentality of the people at the time that the Torah was given to understand what he was telling us. We are all very rationalistic, like one of my greatest teachers, Rambam Maimonides, who tried to bring Judaism into the modern age. He succeeded in certain areas, while others became more confusing. If God created humans according to his likeness and his image, the normal thing would be for us to continue in his direction by doing good, opening ourselves up to others, and so on. What does the rationalistic Hellenistic teaching tell us? God created me to be him. Therefore, I am God, because the world revolves around me. I am the center. In other words, whatever happens around the world is for my sake. Judaism, on the other hand, is concerned with helping others. That is true Torah Judaism, to help the orphan, the widow, the poor, the foreigner, all around us and among us. Both capitalism and communism teach the opposite. They teach us to serve ourselves. The self is more important. Our technology has become so advanced today that we no longer have to worry about the division of languages. Now we have Google, the salvation of the world. We as humans have made ourselves gods. Let us be careful not to fall into that trap. God is not like us. We cannot become gods. We are a creation, not the creator. How many of us have doubted our relationship with the Creator from time to time? How many of us have struggled, wondering whether our relationship with Him is real or not? How many of us have questioned our sets of beliefs? If so, if you have, be assured that God is with you. When God is with us, there is no total rest. We struggle because He wants us to be part of His creation. When we have been called for something special, He allows us to be pushed and pulled and prodded to move in a direction where we do not always want to go. Many of us, like Moses, are reluctant leaders. Yet there is nothing greater than serving the God of Adam and Eve, the God of Noah. He is the God of all humanity, from the best to the worst of us. I, as a former atheist, let others know that it doesn't matter how much we deny the existence of God. He is not waiting for our opinion. Are you a humanist with the desire to serve only yourself and use those around you to fulfill your own personal goals? Or were you made to serve God and our community? Shabbat Shalom. This was our message from our Ranebi.